So I think the most important thing to remember is that anything that you do that is significant in your life is almost always a grind for a long period of time. And it's kind of a message that I like to repeat, is that you have to remember that there is a lot of grinding that you have to do. And there's two things that I think you need to remember. So first of all, it doesn't need to be a grind, but it often is, right? So it could be a very enjoyable process, and it could be lots of fun, and you just get a lot out of it. And in the rare occasions, it actually is that, right? You can actually get those moments. But most things are not going to be that way. And you need to actually, make things happen, even though it is, not pleasurable to actually do those things, right? So, where I'm getting at with this is, in order for it to be pleasurable, there's lots of sort of things so it's really strange, right? Like, think about this. The same motion in the same pattern, in some ways, can be play, and it's the absolute most enjoyable thing in the world. And in other ways, it could be, work and drudgery and not having any sort of fun, right? So, I like to swim. That's something that I've always loved to do, and I've gotten into it a little bit more recently. And, if I tell people swimming, sometimes, they think of me frolicking in the water and having, a gay old time. And it is, right? Like, there's an element of that. That there is this, you do play, and you might, splash water and all that kind of stuff. But when you're doing it, when you're swimming competitively, it is really, really, really difficult. It is a grind. You're hot and sweaty, and you're huffy puffy, and you're not enjoying it in the moment. And work is a lot that way, right? So your work might be, you might own like a sledding, tobogganing type business where you're sliding down a hill, and that's a super lot of fun. But if you have to get up and get going and do it from 9 to 5, you're the one that's setting it up. You're the one that's putting it all together and doing all this kind of things. It is work, and it feels like work. So, how do you actually escape from this moment of feeling like grind? Well, a lot of times you can't. It's going to feel like a grind because somebody, most of the times there's some sort of coercion or something like that is happening, where people are sort of, your boss is coercing you. But, it's easier to explain that feeling of how do you get from, where it feels like a grind to where it actually feels like work. And, you could think of like flow states and things like that, where it feels like a grind to where it feels like, play, and you're enjoying it and having a blast. There's a lot of things, being around people that that they make you smile, that they sort of see the bigger picture. That's like super big. But those people are really, really rare. And they should be really, really rare, right? Like, not everybody's going to be like that way. So that's an important thing to think about. The structure of work itself, it could be the organizational structure, it could be the structure of whether you're competing or not competing, those kind of things make a huge difference. That's why academia is an absolute grind, because it's a competitive market, and it's super hard to find people to, work together. The sort of structure of it doesn't necessarily work that well together. in terms of, and it's got these sort of historic norms where, you know, it honestly comes from monks, right? Like from long time ago, where it's like you're doing this for the greater good, and that sacrifice is very much part of it, and that's baked into the culture. It's probably more baked into the culture than anything, but then also the incentives, how work is done, that sort of follows suit. Now, there's some parts of academia and science that don't have that pattern, but it's still sort of baked into it, right? So it could be a lot more enjoyable as group work. For example, big labs, they sort of work on group work, and it's more of how a business structure might be, right? So if you go to CERN, they're working their butts off, but it's still very much it's a different structure than it might be in sort of more of a craftsman or artisan type style of academia. Both are viable, but they very much have different feels in them, right? The other thing, so, the structure and those kind of things, incentives, those play a really big role. But also, your immediate supervisors or your immediate managers that are supervising you play an enormous role in how things feel, right? So it's not just the people that are immediately lateral around you, but for most of us, it's your supervisor that makes all the difference. Where they are, either coaching you, and it depends on the style that they have, right? Leadership style that they have, and a lot of that might be due to personality, all those kind of things. So it's always really tricky to find these kind of things, right? Like, everybody is different, and everybody sort of has their own style from that, right? So we all have these different traits. So, for example, they might be, very good, at getting you to feel motivated, or doing, getting, gifts for you and sort of building culture, but then they're not really good at sort of doing goal-directed work and getting you to do those things. So that's an important thing, but, realizing that you need that sort of combination of everything together is super important. And the other thing that I think is really important is behavioral aspects of all the different outcomes that you get. And this is going more towards the research that I typically do, is, we have perceptions of success and failure and all those kind of things. How you deal with success and failure is crucial, and how you can sort of process success and failure, right? And that's so incremental steps of getting to where you want to go to. One more step. That idea is so crucial to how you feel of making this feel like it's drudgery, or you're absolutely enjoying the process, and you just, it's just play. A whole bunch of factors come in, and they matter in terms of making something sort of switch, where, that there's this research that's kind of interesting, but like categories, right? But, here I'm talking about how something feels like a category of something, or a category of work feels like work, but it could also feel like play, and you're just goofing around. And I'd encourage you to explore that and see how you can get to the moment where it feels like play. It's not easy. It's really, really not easy, and you might have to do a lot of things to get there. But I think that is the ultimate goal. Performance is one thing and all that kind of stuff, and huffy-puffy kind of performance. Yeah, that matters. But I don't think you're going to get to performance very, very high performing levels until you actually have this element that it just feels like play and you're enjoying it. You can, and at the organizational level, get to sort of high performance, but I think you can get to a moment. So it's not just about performance, is what I'm saying, right? Like, it's about, do you want to live a fulfilled life that you're enjoying and it is a hoot to be part of, right? So working towards that, I think is super important. And you have to remember that in the long run, because it affects your mental states and makes you like enjoy it and it's attractive to everybody, in the long run it actually does provide greater benefit. In the short run, it's not going to. It's going to feel like a waste to sort of work on making your culture feel like it's play and enjoyable. But you have to sort of think about how do you actually get there and work on that over time. It's hard to do, and it's really hard to reverse sort of cultures that are baked in really stinking hard. But I think it can be done. It just takes a heck of a lot of work and somebody that's willing to do it. So with that, hopefully you get something from it. Give me a couple of comments on the pod. Take care and have a wonderful day.